Hi guys, today we're going to start multiplying decimals. As we work through the PowerPoint and the video, I want you to think about how you can multiply a decimal by a decimal. As always, we're going to start out with our lesson objective. Your lesson objective for today is I'm learning to multiply and divide decimals using standard algorithm. Today we're just going to focus on the multiplication portion of it. We're not going to be doing division today. I want to remind you as you work through the video that you need to be taking notes. You need to pause the video when I ask you to, try it on your own, and you can use those notes to help you at the end of the lesson. So make sure you're taking those notes. As far as getting the idea today, multiplying decimals is similar to multiplying integers. Remember, integers are whole numbers or negative numbers. Again, I indicated that we would not be adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing integers that are negative. So these are all going to be whole numbers that we're going to be dealing with today. So you're going to multiply them just like you would a regular whole number. You're going to multiply the factors as if there were no decimal point. You're going to totally ignore the decimal point as you're multiplying. Then at the end, you're going to be adding up the number of decimal places in the factors, and the sum of those numbers is where you're going to place the decimal in the product. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. And again, when I ask you to pause the video, please pause it, try it on your own first. So let's start out with example 1. I want to tell you before you attempt the following question, do you think the answer will be smaller or larger than the two factors? So your two factors are going to be 4/10 and 6/10. If you're thinking that the product is going to be smaller, then you're right. When we multiply, normally numbers get larger, but when we multiply two numbers that are less than 1, the actual product ends up being smaller than both the factors. So what I want you to do is I want you to multiply the factors here, and then you're going to place the decimal in the product. I want you to go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own first, and then I'm going to give you an explanation in just a few. Go ahead and pause the video now, please. As you can see, the first step is going to be to write the problem vertically. So go ahead and write it vertically like this so that it makes it easier for you to see those numbers. And then step 2 says multiply as you would with integers or whole numbers. So let's go ahead and do that multiplication. So we have 6 times 4 equals 24. So we're going to go ahead and put 24 down because we have no other numbers to multiply. You don't need to multiply the 0 since the products are going to be 0 anyway. So go ahead and get your answer for 6 times 4, which is a basic multiplication fact. And then we're going to move to the next step where we're going to decide where to place our decimal. So at this point in step 3, we're going to add the number of decimal places in the factors, and then we're going to insert the decimal point in the product. So if you look at 4/10, the factor 4/10, there's one decimal place to the right of the decimal. In 6/10, there's one decimal place to the right of the decimal. So when we add 1 plus 1, we get 2. So that means we're going to start on the right, and we're going to move our decimal 2 places. And our product is going to be 24 hundredths. So the solution for this problem is 24 hundredths. All right, example 2, I want you to read the word problem. Make sure that you're using your math strategies here. You should be circling key numbers and underlining the question. And I'm going to help you do that right now with a tool that I'm going to be able to use to help you. So it says Karen buys fancy yarn at the cost of 36 cents per yard. She uses 5/10 yards of that yarn to make a necklace. How much did the yarn used to make the necklace cost? So we have $36. I'm sorry, that's 36 cents. And we also have 5/10. Our question that we're trying to answer is how much did the yarn used to make the necklace cost? We know here that when we're looking at trying to find the cost of something, if we know how much it is per yard, the key word there is going to be per. So we're going to box that action word. And per means to multiply. Per means to multiply. Not really sure why it just blotted out my per there. Let's try that one more time. So I'm going to just box per. And we do know again that that means that it's multiplication. So we're going to be multiplying here in this particular problem. All right, so I want you to pause the video and I want you to try it on your own first. And then I'm going to show you how to work the problem out in our explanation, but I want you to try it on your own first. Pause your video now, please. As always, the first step is going to be to write the problem vertically. And then we're going to move on to step 2. We're going to multiply as we would with integers or whole numbers. So the first step that we're going to take is we're going to multiply 5 times 6 to get 0. And then we're going to regroup that 3. So 5 times 6 is 30. We're going to bring the 0 down, regroup the 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is going to be 18. We're going to drop the 0 after the 8, since this is an amount of money. Money goes through the hundredths place value, so we're just going to drop that 0 and make it 18 cents. We're going to look at the decimal places. We have 2 decimal places in the factor of 36 hundredths, and we have 1 decimal place in 5 tenths, so we're going to move the decimal 3 places over. 1, 2, 3, and once we move that decimal, we can drop that 0. All right, let's move on to example 3. We're going to multiply 1 and 748 thousandths times 4 and 6 tenths. You're going to multiply the factors and then you're going to place the decimal point in the product. I want you to pause the video, try it on your own first, and then we'll work on it together. So pause your video now, please. As always, the first thing we want to do is write our problem vertically, and then we're going to multiply the first place value. In this case, we're going to multiply the 6 that's in the tenths place times all the numbers that are in the first factor. So we're going to multiply 6 times 8. That gives us 48. I'm going to bring my 8 down and regroup a 4 here. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 4 is 28. I'm going to regroup my 2. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 2 is 44. Regroup my 4, and 6 times 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. So in this case, we now have our answer for our 6 that's in the tenths place. And we're going to move on to the next step. In step 2, we're going to multiply the 4 in the ones place times all of the numbers that are in the first factor. When we move to this step, though, there's a step that we have to take here. And I hope everybody sees that 0 there. That 0, we call it a placeholder, but it's telling us that we're finished with this place value, the 6 is in, and we're moving on to the next place value. So it's a placeholder, and it's also allowing us to move on to the next place value to multiply. So now we're ready to start multiplying. 4 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32. I'm going to put my 2 down here, regroup my 3. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 is 19, so I'm going to put my 9 down here and regroup my 1. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 1 is 29, so I'm going to bring my 9 down and regroup my 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6, so I'm going to bring my 6 down. And now we're ready to add our 2 numbers together. 8 plus 0 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Regroup our 1. 9 plus 4 is 13. Plus 1 is 14. So I'm going to bring the 4 down and regroup my 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. So I'm going to bring my 0 down and regroup my 1. 6 plus 1 plus 1 is 8. Moving on to step 3, now we can look at the problem and the answer that we have, and we can decide where to insert our decimal. So I'm going to look at the place values that I have to the right here, and I have 3 decimal places. In this factor, I have 1 decimal place. So I'm going to add those 2 together to get 4 decimal places. I'm going to start here behind the 8, and I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to put my decimal in between the 8 and the 0. And the answer to our problem is 8 and 408 ten thousandths. We're going to revisit our learning objective. I'm learning to multiply and divide decimals using standard algorithm. Again, today this lesson was only about multiplication of decimals. I hope that you took every opportunity to take notes so that you can use those during your quizzes or lesson work that I'm going to be giving you. Hope you enjoyed the lesson and that you learned a ton from it. Have a good day.